君は俺にとって最悪の敵だったよ。君の勝ちだ。この行政特区を生かす形で策を練ろう。ああ、部下になるわけじゃないからね。
でも私って信用ないのね。脅されたからって私がルルーシュを撃つと思ったの？
ああ、違うんだよ。俺が本気で命令したら誰だって逆らえないんだ。俺を撃て、朱雀を解任しろ。どんな命令でもね。
もう変な冗談ばっかり。
本当だよ。例えば日本人を殺せって言ったら君の意思とは関係なく。まさか。
そうね、日本人は殺さな
きゃ。今の命令は忘れろ、ユーフィ。待ってくれ、ユーフィ。
ユーフェミアのおかげで全てうまくいきそうだから。
日本人を名乗る皆さん、お願いがあります。死んでいただけないでしょうか。
今なんて言った？嘘だろ。
自殺してほしかったんですけどダメですか？じゃあ兵士の方々皆殺しにしてください。虐殺です。
イレブンを殺せ。イレブンを殲滅せ。一人も逃がすな。
やめろ、ユーフィ。これは俺のギアスが。
虐殺です。日本人は全て皆殺しです。確かあら、日本人かと思っちゃった。
君と共に。ユーフィ。
どうしてルルーシュ。
さようなら、ユーフィ。多分初恋だった。朱雀。
こんな時に。
ハドロン砲は受け止めきれない。
This is Lelouch, the protagonist of the anime Code Geass. This is Euphemia, or Euphie for short. She is Lelouch's half-sister. This is Lelouch's Geass. The Geass is a supernatural power that can manifest itself differently in different humans. Lelouch's Geass gives him the ability of complete control. He can look into your eyes and give you any command, then you have to obey that command to the best of your ability. Even if you haven't watched Code Geass, these three facts that I just communicated probably give you a better idea of why this scene is considered to be one of the worst moments in anime history, but I still need to provide more context. Code Geass is an anime where the Empire of Britannia, or Britain, has colonized 90% of the world. This includes Japan, where the story takes place. Lelouch is half Britannian and half Japanese and harbors resentment against Britannia for the death of his mother. Because of this, and him attaining the power of the Geass, he becomes the face of the Japanese rebellion force and seeks to free Japan from the oppression of the Britannian Empire, but also free Japan from Britannian rule. Euphie, Lelouch's half-sister, is fully Britannian. But unlike most Britannians, she is sympathetic to the Japanese. Not only this, but she also has a lot of pull in the Britannian government, seeing as how her father, and Lelouch's father, is the ruler of Britannia, King Charles. Think of Euphie as a peacemaker, a middleman, a person on the side of the oppressors who actually wants to help the oppressed. She seeks to create a zone inside of Japan where Japanese people and Britannian people can live peacefully together. Now, a lot happens between the start of the anime and this moment right here, but to summarize, yeah, it's a lot of betrayal, murder, massacres, assassinations, hijacks, hostage situations, the whole nine. All of this takes place between Britannia and the Japanese. But even with all of that, through Euphie's relentless efforts, she works to come to peace negotiations with the Japanese. In fact, all the Japanese people out there were expecting an announcement ceremony ending their suffering. They were expecting negotiations. They were expecting a celebration. But instead, all they were met with is gunfire and bloodshed. So now that I've set the stage, let me be clear. I do not think that the scene is overall bad. In fact, I think this is the most goosebump inducing scene I've ever experienced in any show, anime, book, or movie. But I do think it's the absolute worst, or I guess you can say best example of a Deus Ex Machina that I've ever seen. Now, what is a Deus Ex Machina? You've definitely seen it before. It literally translates to God from the machine. It's a plot device that many writers use relatively often, and it's what happens when something completely out of nowhere comes and resolves what seems to be an unresolvable problem. You know, like Naruto's Talk no Jutsu. In this case though, it's more so used to mess up a situation that seemed like impossible to mess up. So I guess instead of calling it a Deus Ex Machina, it should be called the opposite, Diabolus Ex Machina. Forgive my pronunciation. So back to the scene. Lelouch's Gios conveniently goes out of control when he's talking. He was also conveniently trying to convince Euphie about how amazing the power of his Gios is, and he conveniently uses the example, it could even make you kill all the Japanese, and they were both conveniently looking in each other's eyes at that moment. Like, Lelouch, you couldn't have used another example? You couldn't have said, I don't know, my Gios is so amazing, it can make you do jumping jacks until you drop of exhaustion. You really had to say it can make you kill all the Japanese? Now, to be fair, Lelouch's Gios was going out of control earlier on in the series. But still, a lot of these things happening by themselves is kind of random. But all of these things happening at the same time? Calling it a Deus Ex Machina or a Diabolus Ex Machina is an understatement. This is probably the most ridiculous, contrived, forced set of circumstances that come together to create a catastrophic event that I've ever seen, like, ever. But before I end off, I want to talk about why I still think that this scene is overall good. Yes, it is contrived, but it's one of those rare cases where a contrived scene or a contrived element of a scene doesn't ruin it. In fact, it makes it amazing. And this is because of the nature of Euphie's sacrifice. Now, maybe sacrifice is not the correct word, but the nature of her death. Let's step away and look at Jesus Christ for a second. Regardless of whether or not you believe in Jesus or not, what makes the story so compelling is that he is presented as the personification of pure good, pure virtue, and then he dies in the most unjust and gruesome possible way. And if you watch Code Geass, you know where I'm going with this. There are a bunch of evil and disgusting human beings in this anime. Not only is Euphie not one of them, she is the polar opposite. Like I said, she is on the side of the oppressors but wants to help the oppressed. Based on her upbringing, she has every reason to harbor contempt towards the Japanese people, but instead, she loves them like her own. She is literally the personification of absolute good in this anime. That's her whole purpose. Like the story of Christ, she was the least deserving of death, and if she were to die, she deserved the most just, gentle, humane death possible, but instead, she got the opposite. Not only does your brother cause your death, he did it by accident. Not only that, but he has to shoot you through the chest. Not only that, but he shoots you in front of the person who loves you most. Not only that, but you were forced to kill innocent Japanese people, the people you worked your entire life to save. And not only that, but you'll go down in history as one of the most infamous faces ever. This is one of the extremely rare cases in writing where the complete and utter ridiculousness of the Deus Ex Machina moment actually makes the scene 100 times better. The randomness of the moment creates a beautiful contrast in how unfair and random what happens is and who it happens to. Euphie did not deserve this. She was the last person who deserved something like this. And that's what it is about this scene that gives me goosebumps. That's what it is about this scene that's so powerful.